he's only 24 as well. We'll be watching the lecture soon. We'll be watching Vince's lecture soon. No man, 24 years old.
Alhamdulillah.
That's how the seating was found, right? Me and you, do you know that picture what me and you did? Right, Chris. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Right, Jordan. Assalamu alaikum. Right, Martin. We'll just give salams to the Prophet sallallahu.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
We just gave salams to the final Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Seed of the prophets.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Time for breakfast.
Alhamdulillah.
Have a nice. I should wear my.
You won't even come and go. I need to give these hoodies out, man. You need to start wearing them for.
Are we going to have the buffet? Do you want to have that buffet for dinner? Yeah, why not? Not lunch, dinner. It was everything.
Where's that McDonald's?
Did you see the buffet?
No.
Oh yeah, you left us, didn't you?
There's something else.
You deserted us, didn't you?
Last night as well.
Last
night was
Well, you wouldn't have a story to tell, would you? We'd be trying to explain it to you and you try to fathom it.
I know, it's not going to be as good when we have
I wish we had a video of it as well.
No, we have.
Like the road going out and then the car. I didn't hear that.
No.
I don't think there was any signal out there. I just no, there wasn't.
Just put.
Moon now, and you'll start building up your words. So when you start hearing the Quran, it'll intermittently the Arabic will translate for you. It's amazing, subhanAllah. And the way they've done the Arabic, if you're learning to read Arabic, it's so easy. So just read it. Yeah. And it's done by an English guy, English reader guy.
He's the one who wrote
Quran for Dummies. Oh, Islam for Dummies. Yeah. But this book is
What
one
is this Islam for Dummies?
I'll give you an example. There's a beautiful surah. Which one is it?
Are you interested in that book? No, I've heard it.
What's the sort of stampede?
Stampede?
Yeah.
Al-Fil.
You're right. I think you're right.
The horse is striking hooves.
That's right. That's right.
That's how
Yeah, it's a surah.
Oh, the surah. Sure.
shows you.
So is that title just something so people read it? And
No, there's a series of books called.
Yeah, you can get anything, computing for dummies.
What's the surah with the stampeding of hooves?
I'd have thought you'd have been well accustomed to it.
والعاديات ضبحا, yeah. So you read the surah, والعاديات ضبحا, and it says when the horse is striking hooves and this and that. And I tried to understand what's this about. And it's beautiful because what it's basically saying is Allah saying the people who don't know or are unaware and they're doing their normal lives, they're the equivalent of somebody in an army camp baking bread, joking, yeah, whilst the attacking army is speeding down on a full cavalry charge into that camp, and any minute now that Serenity is going to get ripped to pieces. And it likens it to the people in this world who are heedless, that this stampede is coming, man. And you're there dancing, joking, and then there's all all over, subhanAllah. When I read that book and I read that explanation, I was like, wow, it was like surreal. Do you get me? Because that's how people are.
Amazing analogy, isn't it?
Could you, just think about camp, and everyone's joking, hey, whatever, and baking bread, and then you've got coming down that mountain, and they're going to rip through the camp and tear it apart.
That's death.
Yeah, exactly, subhanAllah, and it's just seconds away from you, and you're like this, eating bread, you're Allahu Akbar. But when I read that book, I understood it. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because it went from horses stampeding down, striking hooves,
It's like, what's going on?
and then it went to the good deeds and stuff, and I was like, I could never get the connect.
Similitude.
Yeah, Allahu Akbar.
So is there a series of books then, or is it just the one?
No, it's just Jazama.
Just that one
So it
book?
introduces a surah, so you get an idea of what it's kind of telling you.
You said it's
It's actually for children, isn't it? Is that what It's such basic language. I've read from it. It's really.
Yes, but when you start to learn Arabic, yeah, the way the words have been done, it's just so easy. It just flows.
To be honest, even I find it fascinating from learning because there's so much information.
Yeah.
Not just that.
And even after it, because it's for school kids, you get questions about what you've just read. Why do you think this? Imagine you were this. How would you feel if this was happening? Which is good for the kids, but for us, it's the story behind the surah. Because the surah then starts to make sense to you. Doesn't it? All right. Yes, I want to get some Mobily, yeah?
Mobly.
Let's get it tomorrow. Okay, I wasn't saying about I didn't say nothing. I was joking about tomorrow. No, you're not really. Well, I'm in bed, so you can come and get them. I need my back to fill my book. Jesus. Isa Salam. Gold, like this.
You start reading, learn the truth. You can't deny it. You have to embrace Islam.
No choice. No choice. Ultimately, this guy dies. That's what. I'm like imams. Grow up imams and then teach me. So, I mean, job. What do you do? Oh, no, before Muslim. You know nightclub? Bouncer, bodyguard, yes.
It's our culture.
Yeah.
Our culture.
So you know bodyguard looking at the
Say assalamu alaikum.
Talk about going home and I need to make sure we speak some Muslim maybe find
Isa, look at these umbrellas are closing up.
What did you say?
He just pointed at my arm and I went to Lila.
Wow, they're coming down. Well, it's done something. Ethan. There's one down there.
You survived? You survived? I booked a bus.
What?
I booked a bus.
For now?
All of us. To get to Mecca.
Get to Mecca.
Alhamdulillah.
1,000 riyal.
Alhamdulillah.
It's a
Here he
20.
comes. Look, there's a sheikh coming.
It's a. Hey, Sheikh Isa!
I'm taking photos. Was you in there as well with Rhoda, yeah?
What?
Rhoda.
Who? This chef is very famous. Really famous.
What's his name again?
Chef Mohammed Mukhtar al-Shaltiti.
Okay, right.
Really famous.
Is he?
Loved by everyone.
And so what? He does every day, he does his own.
No, once a month. Yeah. His father was one of the big scholars in Medina. He grew up here, he studied, he was a teacher, and then his status, mashallah, went higher and higher, and they took him to the Lejna, the council of the senior scholars. And he's here, this one. The brother's here, yeah?
This is the balance now. Big shake, bro.
So I wouldn't know. And many people I've met who've become Muslim, and a lot of them started getting into Islam from watching the videos. Like, for example, this man. He was concerned for his niece, his sister, embraced Islam. So he heard the anti-Islamic narrative about women are abused and such. So he started searching, how does Islam treat women? Came across one of our YouTube videos, mashallah, hating the wife, I think it was. then alhamdulillah, once you watch our videos, they can be quite entertaining. So you start watching, at the same time it starts going in. And then, mashallah, he messaged me, asking me questions. So I invited him down to speak this morning. We had a nice chat, isn't it, mashallah. And then a week later, mashallah, he said he's ready to take a shahada. So I wouldn't say that it's necessary someone, I want to become a Muslim, I will watch your videos. But it's a spark, alhamdulillah. It's had a very, it's amazing when we come in Medina, people stop and look at the videos. Like my brother now, mashallah, I think he's studying from Cheshire, but you see the videos, Indonesian and everybody else. So it's amazing
It's the beauty of the English language. People can understand.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
We have translations, Arabic and Indonesian as well.
Saudi Arabia is our second biggest demographic
Audience.
Like I follow the channel after and take questions.
Yes.
It helps solidify it for me as well. So when you get the questions from your parents and your friends, and you watch the videos and you can give answers. That's how I started.
How many videos do you got? How many videos do you got on the?
How many videos?
Like many.
Yeah.
Things all
We deal with the mainly we're dealing with atheists, Christians, but also there's a lot of anti-Islamic rhetoric we deal with at the same time. Because an atheist or a Christian will use anti-Islamic rhetoric. So we have to bash what they've got and at the same time refute what they're saying about Islam. At the moment, Islam's a treasure that's been buried, but it hasn't been buried, it's had manure put on top of it. So before we can show the treasure, we have to remove the manure, then we get to the treasure. And that's half the battle. So we've just started now, we're doing a
516 videos.
how many?
516.
516.
What's that?
We've got 516 videos.
Translate videos. Are they edited numbers?
Yeah.
Some of them are.
So there's probably about
repeats anyway.
Some are repeats because we
there's probably about 150
we upload the
repeats
ones with Arabic subtitles.
or more, maybe 200 repeats.
Yeah.
عربي لماذا لا يمكن أن يكون الإنسان متعلم القرآن Very interesting.
It is entertaining.
حفظكم الله. Nice to meet you. So, are you all like anybody else that came with you or you?
This is us. So I was like, wow, my income, I've got somewhere to stay. And I came to London and that's where I started. And then I met Ibrahim, he doesn't like to take credit, he's my mentor. Alhamdulillah, we travelled a bit, didn't we? And from there, mashallah, I got interested in the dawah. I wanted to share what I'd found. And then when you're trying to share it, you're getting the negative, and that's how the dawah then comes about. And then sometimes when you went to Hyde Park, we realised the people you're speaking to are very, very opinionated, and they're not listening. The crowd are listening, but these people are not listening. Then we realised that YouTube, mashallah, we can use these people who are not listening to defeat their arguments and spread the so mashallah, that's how it all came about.
Do people convert in Hyde Park or is it just a show or something?
He took his shahada. I met my.
I never went there. I just seen like videos of people like screaming and.
Well, there's two videos of Matt. There's one video of Matt when I first talked to him. He come down from Liverpool to the park, and someone I seen him walking around with his Palestinian scarf. Kind of like a Muslim-leaning kind of non-Muslim. You know what I mean? Some kind of sympathy because of the Arafat scarf. So when I started speaking, we had some beautiful, got on video, mashallah, a beautiful speech. Then he went back to England. And then when another time he was back in the park, and it came down again. I didn't know he was coming down. And then this is what he said, he spoke to Islam. So we gave him a shout, mashallah. And like I said, we invited Jordan down to the park, mashallah. Had a nice discussion. But it didn't happen there and then. It could have, we didn't. But there's a few videos on our channel, push a harder corner, where you'll see the brothers taking the shahadas, mashallah. But it's most of the time these boys take this, not like Jordan over the telephone. It just became, as soon as they're ready to accept, take a shahada, mashallah.
How do people communicate with you? Like, do they write the channel? Do you give a number there?
No, we have a Facebook page also. So we receive a lot of messages through the Facebook page. On personal messenger, and we respond directly. And then what we'll do if we see they're interested in Islam, I'll then invite them into our Facebook Messenger group where all the new Muslims are. So you can come in there and you can ask your questions. You can say, what happened? How did you find it? Some people, mashallah, stick around, others don't. But we've created a kind of, it's not a conveyor belt, but there's a place for them. Like, we've got 2 young boys in it, Jake and Ryan, recently. Now Ryan, he came to the park last year after seeing my videos. I didn't get a chance to see him in the park. And then he went back to Leicester, I think it was. And we found out then a few weeks ago he took a shahada. So it's a lot of people said the videos have inspired them to actually look into Islam and then accept it. Whether I did the shahada or not, it doesn't really matter. It was the
usually it's a process of different things. Like, you know, you have somebody speak to you, you have a video, you have listen to the Quran. So
yeah, we're heavy on the intellectual, logical side. That's the emotional side. Someone can become Muslim because they've got really nice Muslim friends, and then as soon as that Muslim friend's not nice with them anymore, they don't like Islam. Or a Muslim woman might embrace Islam because they're with a Muslim guy, sorry, not Muslim. And then when the marriage breaks up, the relationship breaks up, the Islam's not Muslim because it's just part of that. So whenever I speak to somebody about Islam, I always ask them, why do you want to be Muslim? What is it you believe? And I always go to the 2 propositions, and the Shahada basically, you believe Allah or a creator. It doesn't have to be Allah at that stage, just a creator, and the proposition that Muhammad is the messenger of that creator. So once you become intellectually convinced of those 2 things, subhanAllah, like it or like it is what it is. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, I think it's important that you have to speak in some kind of emotional way too, because people, human beings, are not always rational. A lot of people that are following their emotions or anything. So you shouldn't have only emotions, you shouldn't have only logic, but to try to reach to people's emotions and at the same time to the logic, it's very important. You know, the whole pathos, ethos, logos, to connect these kind of things at the same time, it's very, very important.
Well, we had a beautiful talk a while back with Aira, and they were talking about everybody's fitra. It's a fitra, but it's clouded, and you have to work out what's clouded the fitra. Now, it might not be that they believe we've all for monkeys is what's clouded the fitra. It's the fact that their grandmother died of cancer, and if you speak to them on that level, get to understand that level, that couldn't cloud the fitra. So some people, the logic will cloud the fitra, but other people, you're right. Most atheists I meet, there'll be some point in their life why they rejected God or blamed God or something like that. Do you get me?
That's the thing, I've been studying about atheism for many years now, and if you read about the biographies of the big atheists, almost all of them had problems with religious people or with their fathers. Things like when they were young. You have this professor and psychologist who's Paul Witz. I don't know if he wrote a book. It's like Psychology of Atheism. So he wrote about almost all of the big atheists. Like you have Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, and all this in the 19th century and the 20th century. Almost all of them had problems with their fathers when they were young. They had problems with religious people, Stalin, Hitler, more. So. And most of them, that's the big problem that they have. It's an emotional problem. And then they try to clothe it with evolution theory or some kind of logic argument. If you go down to the deep, you will see that a lot of their problems are emotional. So you have to have some kind of balance approach.
I even found that with ex-Muslims, left Islam. You ask them why they left Islam, and within 5 minutes they'll be raving Islamophobes. They'll be talking about the age of Aisha, they'll be talking about all this stuff. Why did you leave Islam? Was it? Do you know what I mean? And then it will boil down to, I was forced to marry somebody, or this, and then I had oppressive parents, or something along the lines, or they were beat up at the mosque, or something like that. That's true. And this is their emotional pain. You know what I mean? I had one guy, mashallah, he was an Iraqi guy, and he left Islam. He said he's non-Muslim. And I was speaking to him in Ilford Market, and I was talking to him. Wallahi, by the time I cried, please, I didn't know all this. Why did nobody tell me this, man? He took his shahada again. Because his reason he left completely emotional. And then he asked me, well, why are you? I said, you've run away from what I brought you. And you're running towards what I left. So he asked me, well, why did you? So when I explained it to them, he went, wow, I think this way. Nobody spoke to me. Because I wish I'd seen somebody like you. When I was thinking of leaving Islam, I wish somebody like you spoke to me like you. Because I'm quite harsh sometimes as well. Yeah, sometimes people some people need the medicine and sometimes it tastes bad, but I have to give it to them. And he said, well, if I spoke to somebody like you before I left Islam, I would not have left Islam. So I said, well, let's come back. He goes, what? I said, take a shahada, man. And he did. He was crying, you know. So, alhamdulillah.
Okay, before I came to England, I went to England specifically to study political science. That's and I had a very strong and influential background in the politics in Portugal. So they wanted me to be the first black Portuguese at the parliament. So I decided to go to England to study at the top university at the time. So that was the reason why I went to England. So and then I was going, of course, we all, you never knew this. So you don't speak Portuguese.
Who wanted you to do this? Who wanted you to be the first black?
Was that I used to be part of a youth group who had some attachment towards a political party. So there was a youth national conference where I participated, and my speech was the best at the time at a national youth conference. And then I think the previous president or something, he became really admired and respected me, alhamdulillah, a lot. And so I decided to go to England. I had enough of Portugal, even though I was born in Portugal, but I never stayed my entire life in Portugal. I grew up in Holland.
Yes.
You know it, I think you know.
I kind of.
Yeah.
How many languages do you know?
Not sure.
Portuguese, English, Arabic.
So I went for that reason, and I had a very political mindset. My role models were Malcolm X.
I was just thinking, when I said role models, I was like, he would say Malcolm X.
Martin Luther King.
Mark Scarver?
No. I've never been Alpha-centric. Right? And Nelson Mandela. These were the people I looked up to, who stood up for a purpose and had high morals and convictions. So, and alhamdulillah, being black, I never felt like inferior. I was conscious person, and I knew the history and so on. And I used to fight skinheads, for example.
No, you did.
And Muhammad used to be known
He's the
for
lead
that.
you
That's
fighting
why.
skinheads.
No. We different generations.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And Muhammad, how I got to know about Muhammad, he was a pioneer of the hip hop in Portugal.
Yes, right.
And the top
Black
rapper,
company.
the top rapper of Portugal told me about Muhammad. So I met Muhammad as a Muslim, so that made me be more interested about Islam. So Muhammad Ali was very known in Portugal. He was an old school.
Mullah.
Yeah, Mullah. Pula, yeah. So that was the story you didn't know about me. So I was intellectually mature. So I differentiated this messenger and the message.
Alhamdulillah.
So I thought to myself, this is the truth. And you know, at the time we have experience in dawah, you know, when a person is about to take shahada, shaitan comes to him and gives him many reasons on now. Look at the way he's looking at you. Look what he said to you. So I went through that process myself, and then I realized I'm not trying to please no one except God. So, and in the Portuguese culture, we have the concept of God. And recently I met an old friend of mine who used to come to my house, and he told me that once we spoke about Islam, we were both young and non-Muslims. And then he said to me that I told him, I like the Islam and the Muslims, but my only problem is that they believe in Allah, not in God. So meaning we had the wrong concept of Allah being an Arab God or whatever, not being God, the one we know in our culture, Christian and Judaic culture. So I went through various stages. I never told you, but I went to an Arabic school. I was about 16, because I speak many languages and I have interest in culture. So I had interest in Arabic culture and Muslims. So I went to learn. I started to learn. I finished the alphabet, and they were all Muslims. I was the only one non-Muslim. I was about 16, I think. And while they were learning, first they would read Arabic language and learn how to read. and then they would recite Al-Fatiha. So they would go through Al-Fatiha, and I was the only non-Muslim there, so they would skip. They would skip me. I thought to myself, I'm not Muslim, I don't have to do it. So they have their deen, I have my deen, but I want to learn the language. So this was one of my stages. Then I got to know Muhammad Ali, and the Palestinian scarves at the time was something that I used to like, especially for my political background, and have sympathy towards Palestinians. And the Portuguese culture, they vote very much in favor of Palestinians. Even if you guys look at Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, donating and so on, we have this sympathy. It's cultural, I don't know how and why, but we have this inclination towards Palestinians.
Maybe with the Andalusian history, isn't it?
Well, that was one of the many stages I went through, and which you was the unfortunate one, the worst stage. But
that was the worst.
Important thing
I was
is
the catalyst, mate.
we accepted.
I was the straw that brought the camel's back.
It was about the truth, not about you. So.
Yeah.
And if the truth comes to you, you have to humble yourself.
Well, I can only deliver the medicine in a manner that I believe the patient requires it. I think you needed that. You needed to be exposed.
They say Alhamdulillah. The guy is fucking brown.
MashaAllah.
Which says more about you than
I'm still grateful.
I'm so happy to see you here, bro. Alhamdulillah, if I paid a tiny piece of portion of that.
It's very interesting to read. If you read the whole Christian history about Christianity, you can really understand why atheism came about.
You know what I say? I say you guys have got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. I said because when Christianity was the bastion of religion, they crushed you under their iron fist, and science was heresy, and you still believe that religion is that. You think there's a kind of loggerheads. So that's why the atheists, once you got under the fist of Christianity, out of the fist, you never want to go back. I'll go like that, but don't worry, this is Islam.
Yeah.
We like science.
It's much deeper than that, too, because you see like people like Thomas Aquinas, I don't know if you heard about it. When
That's
he
my
wrote
name,
his,
by the way. I got this name.
Sure.
Akin. That's one of my names.
When he wrote his 5 evidences for God, he wrote that these are not evidences that can convince you. These are the ways that the philosophers can speak about God. So he didn't see that these evidences were convincing himself.
Yeah.
And if you see Richard Dawkins today, when he wrote his book about God delusion, he said like this evidence is not evidence because he didn't really understand that Thomas Aquinas didn't think that this was evidence too.
Yeah.
So you have big problems when it comes to like the evidences for God and all of these things. And in Christianity, they paved the way for atheism for hundreds and hundreds of years, even before all of the like Inquisition, all these things. It's big problems in Christianity that led to the whole atheism. You see, like if you read the Bible, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, how they portray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or how they speak about Allah Azza wa Jal, you can understand that people become atheists. So it's very important that when you speak to atheists, to like one of the first conceptions to make them understand who God is.
Yes. And who God isn't.
Yeah. I was listening today, Bart Ehrman?
Yes.
Yeah.
He got 3 lectures about how Jesus became God. The second lecture, speaking about a very interesting thing, because he's speaking about miracles. And he says that historians, when he says historians, he means secular historians, atheistic historians. They can never prove miracles because a historian can never speak about God. And he said this is a problem for us because if miracles will be a fact and we can't speak about them, we don't have ways to speak about the truth. And that's a big problem. It's the same thing with science, because they say they can only speak about like matter or energy and mass. If things exist that are not from matter or energy or mass, how can you speak about them? So they have to broaden their whole way of seeing the truth or seeing the whole thing, because they're only looking about in a special corner. They can only look there with like the light here. They don't look at the whole.
Well, when you're busy, they can just see one pixel. They can't see the screen.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing.
The blue, to give you that example, the blue lenses, Hamza's example.
Hamza's process.
He uses as the lenses.
But like I said, all I do with the atheists is just set my position. Well, you believe is your business. I'm going to tell you why I believe what I believe. And you can't touch it. Now tell me what you believe, why you believe what you believe. Stuck. Why don't you believe it's what we live in an infinite universe. You know what I'm saying? So, you are right.
Because most of the atheists, they're not used to explaining their own belief. They're used to attacking other people's beliefs.
Yeah. They're not used to being dragged to the old.
No, to speak about that. What do you really believe in? No, I want to speak about others, like Christians. No, speak about yourself. And that's a big problem for most of the atheists. Because most of their speech just like harassing other people.
Give advice to the brothers who are new to Islam and who would like to grow in they're still on a long journey, ongoing journey, which is challenging. And in the West, families and work, subhanAllah, so what is your advice?
I think one of the most important advices, first to begin with dua, and don't think that you can make these things by yourself. Like, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Say to Allah Azza wa Jalla, whom you worship and whom you seek help from. So you can really feel that you're in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment when you feel that I'm smart enough by myself, or I can make this by myself, or I'm strong enough by myself, I'm not in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the moment when بداية الانحراف, the beginning of when you start to go away from the straight path. So always think that you like feel and make dua that you're in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His guidance in every moment, and to be straight on this path that you went to. And so I think this is really the most important thing, to always feel your need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and always ask Him to be on the straight path. Like the Prophet ﷺ used to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be on the straight path, like some hadith 60, some hadith 100 times a day. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Like, oh you who, how do you say it? Control of the hearts, keep my heart on your religion. The Prophet ﷺ used to say this every day, many times, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So I think this is really the most important thing. And the second most important thing that I see is to really seek knowledge, to really try to understand the religion more and more, especially about the foundations of the religion, about Aqidah. Like you can study Aqidah in different ways, but to really understand the foundations of the Aqidah. Why Islam is really the truth. Every time you study these things, you just like you feel your iman just go up and up and up. So like the proofs for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the proofs for the Quran, the Prophet sallallahu, and these kind of things, the beautiful sides of Islam. It's very important to keep on studying about these things and to remember yourself about that and other people too. And then to study other things in Islam too. So like study fiqh, study seerah of the Prophet sallallahu, tafsir, and other things. It's very important to keep yourself busy with studying knowledge. SubhanAllah, before, to study about Islam, if you read about the A'imma and Imams from before, how they could travel for 1 month just to hear one hadith. You travel here from Medina, some of the Sahaba, over to Sham, over to Damascus, from here. It's like from here to from Medina to Tabuk, it's like one of the last cities here in Saudi Arabia, 700 kilometers. And then like maybe 400 or 500 kilometers more to go to Damascus from here, just to hear one hadith about the Prophet ﷺ. You hear like about Imam Bukhari, Imam Ahmad, and all of the big scholars and the Imams from before. They used to travel around to hear hadith from here, hadith from there. And nowadays it's so much easier. You can have so much knowledge inside of your phone, just to go listen everywhere. Like all of the ahadith that they used to collect for 20 years, 30 years, you can have them inside of your mobile phone. It's incredible. And at the same time, when they travel these ways, and that way that they travel, the knowledge, they benefited from the knowledge much more. So try as much as you can to, like, every day, in some kind of way, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, to study something about Islam, or read something about Islam, or listen to something about Islam, so you can, like, gain more knowledge. And try also, when you study about Islam, to speak to other people about it. Because when you speak to other people about it, your knowledge will become more firm. If you only listen and then you get busy with other stuff, the knowledge will go away. So practice the knowledge by yourself, if it's something that you can practice, and speak to others about it, and you will see that the knowledge will really be a part of you.
It's like a piece of advice.
What is the nasiha in terms of how to deal with families? I know it's a bit different for each one of us. I had my own challenges. I had to leave my groups and those who I was related to and friends. And what is your advice on this? Keeping in mind that Islam doesn't tell you to cut off from your from your parents, and now they disbelieve as you are a believer. We hate them for the sake of Allah. So what is your advice on that?
I think if you want to have a good communication with your family, you have to see everything from their perspective. If you only look at your perspective, like, alhamdulillah, I found the haqq now, I found the truth, and khalas, they're off, So you can really have a dialogue with them. You will speak like this, and they will speak like this, and you will never reach each other. But if you start to think like, okay, we live in a certain age, and the media is like bombarding you every day with news about Muslims and new terrorist acts and this and that and this and that, and they see you became a Muslim and you started becoming a practicing Muslim, and this is really scary because what will they do? Like, I don't know, and all of these kind of doubts that are out there. So if you can see from their perspective, you can start to talk to them in a way that they will understand more. But if you see everything from your lenses, like your perspective, alhamdulillah, and the truth, and when they say something about Islam, they're attacking the truth, and like, no, they have their perspective, and you have to try to find a way to communicate with them. We don't say that they're not on the truth, they don't know, like, they're wrong when they say, but you have to understand how they see it. If you understand, you can find a good way to hold a good dialogue with them, and I think they will understand more. And you will speak with, like, mercy in your heart when you speak to them. If you speak, even if you have like hatred in your heart, or you're like angry in your heart, and you try to be kind in your mouth, they will see that it's kind of fake. But if you have like mercy in your heart from the beginning, you really want good for them, they will see that when you speak to them too. And you really want to reach to their hearts when you speak to them, and you don't just want to say the truth and just go away from there, you will see much more effect, And people, even when you make da'wah, if they don't feel that you want good for them, they will never listen to you. Because if they think that this guy just wants to like put me down or something like that, it's very hard to accept something from a guy. Most of people are like that, but some people, they might accept it. But if they can feel that like you really want good for them, and you love the best for them, and you love like guidance for them, you will speak in a way that they can accept much more.
They are our teachers at the university, and they teach us. And one of them taught me Quran, and this is something that really helps me as a Muslim and makes me try to become a better person. That you see their level of commitment, their sincere advice, wanting good for us, wishing good to us. So, and also teachers in the Jami. Some of them are scholars in the Haram, and this is a very nice environment to be in, and really helps you in your iman and encourages you to become a better person.
You ask them about the Bible, and within 3 minutes, it's gone from the Bible being some kind of proof to the fact that, oh, I've seen it in my life, oh, I had this experience. But bro, if you're a person waiting for a kind of experience to prove something to you, you're a person waiting to be deceived. Because if you trust your senses to be bringers of truth, it's a problem. Because your senses can be fooled. You understand? What reason, alhamdulillah, is still now. You understand? Alhamdulillah, there's no escaping it. Because no matter what they come with, you can apply the same principle. You believe that? You believe like, you know what? Right, why do you believe it? What do you believe and why? You know what I'm saying? And once it's that, they've never even thought about why they believe it. You know what I mean? And then, because they just assumed it. And the belief is based on that assumption. These people well, because what? Yes. And then, well, I can say the same to you. Say the same to me. Because there's no assumption. The only assumption I have, if you want to drill down, is the universe is finite.
So we're going to go to the audio then.
I'm going to. Yeah, because it's going to take forward. The universe is infinite. The Kalam cosmological argument. Yeah. Because if you have an infinite universe, it doesn't need a creator. It doesn't need a cause. It's always been there. But you can't support that. That's an assumption. You understand? So I then go to the fact that we know science says that the universe had a beginning 30.4 billion years or whatever. Therefore, it has a cause. If it has a cause, what's that cause? But that, yeah. Look, so the cause, whatever. If you want to go cause and a cause, whatever you want to do, Occam's razor will bring it back to a cause, an uncaused cause. And as soon as you get to an uncaused cause, no one can ask you who caused that. It's uncaused, mate. It has to, by necessity, be uncaused. And then when you have Muhammad Sallallahu coming along saying, I've received revelation from this uncaused cause. And then you test the claim. Is he lying? Is he telling the truth? Is he crazy? Is he sick? And when you eliminate the impossible, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, has to be the truth. Was he crazy? No. Was he deceived? No. Was he a liar? No. Why wasn't he a liar? This is the biggest one. Why wasn't he a liar? Well, first of all, what was his motive to do this, to carry out this lie? And the second thing is, did he have the capacity to fulfill the lie? Of course not. SubhanAllah. So these particular things, I'll be honest with you, these particular things I plan to make a dawah book about. Because this is key. This is key. Because all someone has to believe to be a Muslim is what? La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Alhamdulillah. So the book will be the two propositions, the idea of a creator. And to be honest with you, when you speak to an atheist, you don't even need to flesh that out. Just concede there's an uncaused cause. Call it energy, call it what you like.
Jordan. Let's go finger out, Jordan finger.
What are we queuing up for?
Inshallah, two rakah in paradise.